All right. Happy Tuesday. Happy Tuesday, YouTube. Happy Tuesday, Facebook. This is your King's Court review with Crystal XO. And this is episode 2. So if you have not watched episode 2, or if you don't want spoilers, then I would suggest you vacate the premises and come back after you've watched, because I don't want to do any spoil. There will be spoilers. We're going to get all off into episode 2. We went back to back. Yesterday I did my first review, and today is the second, because I want us to catch up. So next week, every Monday at 10 o'clock, we will do King's Court reviews. But since I was a little bit late getting the first one up, I wanted to make sure that we go ahead and get into episode 2 while it was still fresh. So then next week we'll go with episode 3, Monday at 10. But welcome, you guys. Come on in. It is hot outside. You guys see, I am just coming in from the elements, and it is super hot here in ATL. Let me know in the comments where you are watching from, and hopefully you enjoy this broadcast and you will share it as we talk about the show. I will say again, I said last week that I like this show so much better than Queen's Court, and it literally was totally confirmed, after watching the second episode. Such a better show. Now, I don't know. Actually, I do know. It's because the men are a lot more mature than the women. Sorry, sis. Sorry, sisters. Hold on. You know what? I just realized I'm here without my earrings. We cannot do that. With an updo and our lock bang, we need to make sure that we have our earrings. So you guys just act like these were on from the very beginning, okay? Do that for me, all right? Act like these were on from the very beginning. I was like, oh, I'm naked. My ears are naked. With an updo, we need an earring. But yes, so the men are just much more mature. Even athletes are still much more mature than, look at the women that we had last season. We had, anyway, I don't want to talk about the women, but the men are much more mature. And that is why I actually like this show a lot more with men. Maybe we just keep it to Kings. I hope that we will. I hope that we will have more King's Court. I'm kind of good on another Queen's Court, unless they're gonna actually cast women that are believable and that actually, want to be somewhat serious. Like I don't need you. Like if everyone doesn't get married to the person, that's fine. But at least take us through a process that feels somewhat genuine, and that's not what happened last season. But I like this episode even more than episode 1. You guys know, if you watched yesterday, I loved episode 1. I gave it like an 8.75. I'm actually going to give tonight's episode a 9.5, just because it was a great episode. So much to get into. So make sure that you let me know what you think. Make sure that you post what you would rate the episode before the end. We'll do it again. I'll tell you guys why. You know, I really believe that the second episode, titled Full Court Press, deserved a 9.5. And I actually wish that, I hope that women, I know a lot of you, said when I was on here yesterday, and I was saying, I think this is giving us great notes when it comes to dating. And a lot of them were like, oh, I don't take notes from this. For anyone who is actively wanting to date a man, I would suggest taking notes from the things that these women are doing wrong, because there is, this episode has so many nuggets on things that women do incorrectly. And I think it's definitely worth paying attention to and taking note of. So let's get into the issues for this second episode. And there are a lot of them. So I'm going to start with one of the biggest ones. And that is, I will admit, guys, I was wrong. I have no problem admitting when I'm wrong. And I was wrong. I said last night about episode 1, I thought that Raquel was going to be a real connection for Tyson. I thought that Janae, I was not wrong about Janae, and I was not wrong about Dr. Shawana, but I was wrong about Raquel. And I'm not surprised, and I knew within the first few minutes of the second episode that I was wrong, and I'll tell you why. Because this is our girl Raquel, very beautiful, a model. We know that Tyson actually had slid into her DMs before, and she was very proud of that. She came on the show, and I think she felt like, because of the fact that he was attracted to her, and he had mentioned that, he had slid in her DMs, and they knew that. And then you could tell that he was very attracted to her. I think she assumed that the ball was in her court and everything was fine. And I think this is a perfect example of what happens when women come to the table and all they think they have to bring is pretty. Raquel is a perfect example of, all I have to do is show up and be pretty, and I should be the pick. I should get the man. I should get everything simply because I am pretty and you are attracted to me. And as we learned tonight, that is not true. Now, my first sign that Raquel and Tyson were not going to work was, and it really has more to do with Raquel than Tyson, because I will say, I do think Tyson is unserious. I still stand by that. I could be wrong, but I stand by the fact that Tyson is unserious. But Raquel is a problem. She was the reason that she is no longer an option for him is literally totally because of her, not him. And I will explain why. Within the first 10 minutes of the second episode, Raquel is asked why none of her past relationships have worked. Now, Raquel is 33 years old, so I will give her some young sis grace. I'm going to give her some young sis grace because she still has a ways to go. But her response at 33 was that she has never been the problem. It is all the men. The men are the problem. She has never been the problem remotely. Anyone who thinks that is the problem, is the entire problem. Raquel, yes, you are very beautiful. And yes, there will be a lot of men that probably have been attracted to her because of the way she looks. However, her inability to take accountability and to realize that she has to show up to the table, more than just a pretty face and a model body is big. I would suggest that Raquel get a copy of my book, Dear Alpha Female. It's not him, it's you. An interactive devotional designed to help you attract the love you deserve. If you do not believe that you are doing anything wrong in any relationship that you have ever had at age 33, then it is probably more you than him. Self-reflection is key. Self-awareness is key. And until we have those, we are not ready to be in a relationship. So the fact that she said that, I was like, yeah, this is not going to work. Now, I was right, because the episode 2 was a shit show with both Raquel and Lexi, but we'll get to Lexi. That was a whole nother thing. We'll get to that later. But Raquel had the attitude that because Tyson was attracted to her, that no one else should have had a chance. He should have been focused in on her, and that was it. Now, the other young lady that Tyson went out with, because there were 2 young ladies that Tyson connected with in the first episode. One was Raquel, and then last week I did not show Liliana. Liliana is a traveling nurse, and Liliana's here for a good time. Liliana's here for a good time. I think she liked Tyson. I think out of the guys that are there, we have the 3 kings. We have Tyson Beckford. We have Carlos Booz, and of course, Titus O'Neil, or that, aka Thaddeus. And out of the 3, I think that a lot of the women are just, if you were to pick which one is the most just attractive from the general look, a lot of women are going to pick Tyson. And so I think that's what Liliana was looking at. He's a supermodel. She probably knew him. Carlos, I'm not really an NBA. Like, I know the franchise, like the big players like Shaq, Michael Jordan. I know some. Okay, Tyson Chandler, because he was super cute. I know some, but I don't know like all of them. So I think you had to be somebody that was really into the NBA to really know Carlos. But I think more people know Tyson. And then Titus is a very niche audience with the WWE. So I think just coming to the plate, more women will probably be familiar with Tyson, because he has been a star for probably 25 years, maybe even more, maybe 30, honestly. And so he's like that household face that, there's very few male. I can't think of any other male supermodel. So the fact that Tyson is a male supermodel, a lot of the women are drawn to him. So I think Liliana was there for that. I don't know if she's really serious. She seems to me a little unserious. But Raquel, and I think that's also why Raquel did not find her to be a threat. So they brought 7 new women in. And immediately, Raquel was fine as long as Tyson was doting on her. But as soon as they brought the other ladies in, she became just pouty, moody, and then angry. Like, it went from pouty and like to like, attitude having, and then just full out anger and, dismissal. So in order to talk about that, let's look at the ladies that they brought in. They brought in 7 new ladies pretty early on after we let go of the ladies that left last week, which of course we know Kelly and Jasmine left last week. And so they brought in 7 new ladies. One of them is here. Oh my gosh. And I cannot, let me pull up these ladies' names, because I don't want no trouble with you people. Let me pull up these names of these ladies. So this is, her name is kind of Idolwise. I've never heard of that. I've never heard that name before. It's different. I'm not okay. She's from Spain. So that's why. Idolwise is from Spain. She is 38. She lives in Miami, Florida, and she is a model. She also said that she's kind of goofy. She's got a silly personality, but she's 38 years old. She's cute. She's cute, different, Spanish, and we know that that's a preferred demographic, I guess we'll say. Okay. Moving on to this young lady here who's going to cause some problems. We're going to get to her later on. But this is, hold on. This is Ariel. Now, she looks different here. Her hair is a little bit different here. It's a lot bigger, and it has like some blonde streaks. I don't know if it's got it's just different, on the show, but this is a pretty picture of her. She's a very pretty girl. She is, she is 39. I would not have said that. I would not have thought she was 39. 39. She has 2 children. Well, actually 1 child, but she has a autistic son named Parker that she talks about. She has a doctorate in physical therapy. So I want you guys to, we already know who is going after the doctor. We already know. We'll talk about that later. So that's Ariel. And then Brianna here. Brianna is 41. She is a tech manager, lives in LA. And she said that she's, it was interesting to hear her say that she has a lot of confidence and she is fine dating a celebrity or a politician. The fact that she mentioned that, it made me think that that's what she would prefer, which is kind of weird. I ain't gonna lie, when Brianna came, she was making some funny shots, and then she made that last shot. I was like, okay, go girl. She's a lot taller than some of the others. She looks like she played basketball. That's why when she started missing those shots, I was like, girl, you are so tall. I expected you to make every single one of those shots. But she made the last one, which is what counted. And she ended up getting a date with Carlos, but I feel like Carlos was being nice. But I'll talk about that in just a minute. So anyway, then here is Kat, and Kat is 41 years old. She is a DJ and an artist. She is also a divorcee, and she is, she says that she had a connection with Tyson. She mentioned that she, was always very attracted to him when she saw him on television. So that is Kat. This is like a fun girl, like a musician and a DJ. She's probably a lot of fun to be 41. Felicia, I think she is absolutely drop dead gorgeous. She is 36, a business analyst. Again, she mentioned that she will date rappers. She's definitely down with the shits. She said rappers, celebrities, bring them on. She's ready for it. Anytime you mention that, that makes me feel like that's where we're going. And of course, she likes Tyson, of course, because she he's going to be the choice that a lot of these women that are into the celebrity thing are going to go after, because he's got the biggest name out of everybody. Next is Steph. And I already knew that Steph was from Atlanta. Again, she kind of has that ATL girl from around the way vibe. She is 36. She literally seemed like a basketball player. She came in, she knew how to dribble. She said she's played basketball, football. She grew up a tomboy. You can see that. She's cute. She's definitely got a lot of personality. I think that's probably the best thing about her, is that she's got a lot of personality, a whole lot of personality, very confident. Like I said, very ATL. Next is Sada. And she is 37, a physician liaison. She was cute. She actually another person that was attracted to Tyson, and I guess everybody likes Tyson. And definitely has kind of zeroed in on him. But we know that he's mentioned that he likes Latinas. So these are the 7 girls that came in as the newest members in the house. They actually moved in right along with the other women that were already there. And they were introduced at the basketball court. All the guys looked good in their basketball jerseys and, came out, and it was a good scene. They did a good job. Again, shouts out to Will Packer Productions. That was a nice little scene with the guys shooting basketball, and then having the new girls come out. The old girls came out in all black, and it was automatically like, like who's going to get who, the first 5 versus the new 7. Everybody was feeling the tension. However, Raquel, out of everybody, had the biggest issue with the new girls. She felt like Tyson should have, because she felt like they've known each other the longest, which is very strange. She said, we've known each other the longest, and basically he liked me. He should have been giving me some attention. And he was really mingling with the new ladies. Now, I would say all the guys were mingling with the new ladies, all of them. But I mean, Tyson is going to be Tyson. He has this little mischievous way that he, again, proving that he's kind of unserious. The other 2 guys are more actually dialed into the mission of the show. Tyson just seems like he's there having a good time. However, Raquel attitude, she just got angry at the fact that he was not like still doting upon her. I think she pulled Liliana into it. They went over and confronted him. And I'm like, okay, first of all, you knew this was a show where you would not be the only choice. I understand he's slid in your DM, but I mean, the show can't be over in with the second episode. And so she literally said, if he likes me and Liliana, then he shouldn't be talking to all these other girls, or he should at least be talking to us. He shouldn't have to talk to all these new girls. What world has Raquel been in? I understand that she's a very beautiful model. She's a supermodel. But girl, you got to know that there are other pretty girls. You got to know that there are other choices. You got to know that this is a television show. And what sense would it make for him to come and only talk to you? I think the reason that she did not mind Liliana is because I think Raquel thinks that she has it in the bag over Liliana, and she thinks Liliana could just be like her little sidekick, and she don't think that she actually would be like actual competition for her. But these girls are delivering some competition. When I tell you there's competition in these streets, there is competition in these streets. These two are giving her a run for her money. So I noticed that when they were mingling, first of all, Felicia is gorgeous, and Tyson was zeroed in on her because we know Tyson's going to look for that model, and Felicia definitely looks like that. And then Steph actually had a grape or a cherry or something, and she put it in Tyson's mouth. She was like, Tyson, back for it. He took a bite, and Tyson is all, even though he's like 54, he acts like an 18-year-old. He's like, he's all in. So Raquel is over here pouting and fuming. It's ridiculous. She actually says she's fuming at this mixer. Ridiculous. Unbelievable. But it's also why a lot of women who are drop dead gorgeous like that, they're by themselves because there are other pretty girls, and probably the people that you think you're so much prettier than, a guy may not necessarily think that. So her attitude was stank at the basketball game, at the mixer. And then when they went back to the house, it continued to be stank. The new girls moved in. Raquel was just upset with him. Tyson actually went over and was like, can we talk about this? They called him over and he's like, can we talk about this when we get back to the house? She didn't want to talk about it at the house. She reeled Liliana in. Now, Liliana wasn't really on that type of time because I tell you what, Liliana had realized there's more competition here. There are other girls. Tyson's talking to other girls. Let me make sure that I keep my options open. And so Liliana tried to go over and strike up a conversation with Titus, which was wild because I don't think Titus is really into Liliana. Like, it didn't really go the way I think she wanted it to. But yeah, she tried to switch up. She tried to switch teams midway through and go over and talk to Titus, but it didn't. So I'm going to go ahead and run through that storyline. So when we come to the I'm going to call it the rejection dinner, right? It's called elimination dinner, but it feels like the rejection dinner. Raquel was mad that she would even be there, even after showing jealousy, even after showing that she was upset that Tyson was talking to other people. She point blank asked him, why am I here? Basically like, how dare you put me into the elimination pile? Like, that's ridiculous. You and I have this connection. You're obviously attracted to me. That's all that matters. And Tyson was just like, well, there's, you're showing some signs of jealousy and I'm not into that. And I'm thinking, like, with a girl like Raquel, I know she is thinking that Tyson was attracted to her, but she has to know that he has a lot of options, probably more options than she does. Just saying, like, there are more women than men. So if she is a beautiful woman and she has a lot of options, and Tyson is a beautiful man and he has a lot of options, then who is going to have the most options out of the two? Tyson, right? So, and I understand she felt like she should have been, it just doesn't work like that. Life doesn't work like that. So this was a very good lesson for Raquel to learn at 33, so she can learn that lesson before she goes to 35 and 36 and heads towards 40, that, girl, you have to show up with more than just your looks. And what I think she could have done is handled it the way Dr. Shawana did. You know, Dr. Shawana is our girl. She is my favorite at this point, and we're going to talk about why. But all the girls felt some kind of way when they see new women coming in that are getting the guy's attention. But you can either handle yourself in class and know that, you know, what is for you, or you can act like a spoiled brat. And usually a spoiled brat ends up on the outside looking in, and that's exactly what happened. So when she was in the elimination dinner, she decides that she's not going to allow herself to be eliminated because she's too pretty for that. She's too good for that. And so she did say this funny line that I love. She was like, I don't chase any living thing besides my dog. And so she left because Tyson, she wouldn't have even been in the elimination if she had acted like she has some sense. But because she acted a fool, and then she was there, she left. She got her stuff, she pouted, she threw a temper tantrum, and she left. And so I was 100% wrong. That is why you cannot just judge a book by its cover. That is why men usually end up picking the wrong women, because they're not paying attention to those type of signs. You look at just the pretty outside, then you miss out on the fact that there's a lot of that roses really smell like boo-boo, I think Andre 3000 said. I know you like to think your ish don't stink, but lean a little bit closer and you'll see roses really smell like boo, 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 boo. And that is exactly what happened with Miss Raquel. Very pretty, but my mother used to always tell me pretty is as pretty does. And her actions were not pretty at all. So she left because she did not want to be eliminated, but her actions said that she needed to be eliminated. So even though she left, she grabbed her stuff and she stomped out. She had already left when she had already lost when she started displaying that nasty attitude. Meanwhile, Liliana tried to switch teams because Liliana is not here for love. Liliana is here for a good time and to see what wealthy man she can hook her talons into. And so she sees that she has some competition. So she said, well, let me go over here where the waters are a little less deep. You know, it's a little less competition over here for Titus than it is for Tyson. So let me go over here. That didn't work. And we'll talk about that in a minute, because when I tell you Titus is my favorite, like he is doing his thing. He showed up in the second episode even better than the first. And I'm like, guys need to take a page out of Titus's book. Who knew a WWE Hulk of a man could be so intelligent? And I mean, you know, and not that there's anything wrong with that, because it's very attractive. A Hulk of a man is a good thing. But I'm just saying, like, a lot of times people don't think that there's all this intelligence and emotional maturity, you know, in someone that is that big of a celebrity and has had that much success, has that much money. But look, this man is actually an amazing catch from what I see so far. But before we go there, I want to talk a little bit about, you know what? Should we just go in? Should we just start the conversation and talk about the problem, the cancer of it all, the cancer of it all with the young lady Lexi right here. Lexi was the cancer of it all, who was so jealous of Janae and really just a miserable person. And a cancer, and has exhibited some of the behavior that we see in so many other women on reality TV. Let's get into it. Lexi, this is the one. If Raquel was a rose that really smelled like boo-boo, she was not even a rose. She was just a carnation that turned into, you know, excrement. Just a carnation that went bad, horrible, cancer, toxic, all of that. Okay, let's catch up. So last week we know that Lexi was in the bottom, and she was in the bottom because there simply just wasn't as much of a connection with her as with some of the other women, right? She got a chance to stay and she was happy for that. But her interest was Carlos, and Carlos, I told you guys, is really into Janae. Really into Janae. Now, I'm sorry, tonight, this episode started with him saying that when he sees Janae, Carlos said, let's look at Carlos really quickly. Let's take a gander at this. Again, he is so much cuter without all that. That is way too much beard and mustache. He would just be so much more attractive and look so much younger without all that. That's a lot of mustache on the bottom. He doesn't look like that. That must have been for promo pictures because he looks a lot better in the actual on the actual show. But he said that when he sees Janae, he sees heart emojis. At that point, hey, it's a wrap. I don't think any other woman is going to get his get into his attention. However, every man is not everybody is everything for everybody. And so if you go on a show, there's going to be competition, and there's a possibility that you may not be the chosen one. The best way to gauge a person's maturity is how they deal with difficult situations. So when you're being picked all the time, you don't get a chance to see the truth, your true self. But when you're up against some competition, when you're up against some other girls who are just as pretty, if not prettier than you, that's when you get a chance to see if you're really emotionally mature. And this little girl right here has a lot of growing to do. Lexi came from the bottom last time, and she had a chip on her shoulder, right? So she came in and she was you could see she was just constantly clocking Carlos with Janae. And Carlos is very honest about his attraction to Janae. He was definitely booed up with her. So instead of just saying, okay, well, let me just, have a good time and enjoy this and put my best foot forward, Lexi decides to try to be messy. And so her first attempt at mess was to go to another man. Now, she's a reasonably attractive woman. I think, a lot of these girls on this show are like model type women. I don't think she looks like a model, but she's an attractive girl. And she's probably used to really getting a lot of attention from men. She mentioned that she's been an artist, that she's had all this stuff. She's very convinced that her accolades and her experiences should make her a big catch, right? Again, more people that need to get a copy of Dear Alpha Female, because accolades and accomplishments do not make you a great catch by themselves for, an accomplished man. So she goes to our boy Titus, and she complains about the fact that Carlos is really only spending time with Janae. When I tell y'all, Titus shut her down immediately. It was beautiful. I would have pulled all these clips, but I don't want them to snag me. Titus said, who are you talking about? And he said, do you think I'm not talking to other people? I'm only talking to one person. And she said, no. And she said, it's Carlos. And he said, well, you need to go talk to Carlos because that's who you have the problem with. Point blank and period. And then went further to dismiss her and said, I'm going to go ahead and talk to her because Dr. Shawana had come over. He said, because it sounds like you need to talk to him. You need to go on and handle that. Don't come talk to me about him. I love Titus. Now that is how you shut it down. That is how a man, because a man should not be involving himself in pettiness and gossip. That is to me the markings of a real man. He's like, no, don't bring that to me. I already see what you're doing. You can look at me with them Google eyes all you want. I don't want no part of that. Go take that someplace else. And then he dismissed her and went back to the woman he was interested in. I mean, she should have, at that point, she should have realized that what she was doing was not going to work. And she should have stopped. She should have seen that as a red light to stop with the foolishness. But she did not. She proceeded. She realized that she couldn't get anywhere with the men. Actually, if she hadn't went to Tyson would have probably, he probably would have entertained a little conversation because he just a little bit more with the shits than Titus. Titus shut it down. He just handles himself like a grown man. It is extremely attractive. And I think not necessarily him, because I feel like he's going to find his queen, he definitely is close to finding one because he's mature and he is being intentional, with his example. I love it. But women, these are the type of characteristics we should be looking for in a man. That is the type of man that you can trust. He says is what he says, and what he does is what he does, and it all aligns, right? I love it. So like a man should not be doing a whole bunch of this. If I say I'm going to do something, my word is my word, and that's what it is, and that's what he's doing. I love it. So he shut her down. So she decides to, because she realizes that she's going to lose this battle. Carlos is not into her. She learns that with Titus shutting her down like that, she can't go over there, because I think she was going to try to slide over there and see if he had any interest in her, right? The way our girl Liliana did. She was not as Liliana was unconfrontational with it, but she tried to go start a mess, and then that just got her shut down. So then it was clear, nope, can't go to Titus, and she knows Tyson got way too much motion for her. So she can't even put herself in that, because she can't get with these girls. Like, she not. The girls coming out to Tyson and Tyson entertaining all of them at the same time. She can't put herself in that rotation because she's going to lose. So realized that she had lost with the guy, she started trying to plant seeds of discord, seeds of discord among the women. So she goes to Raquel, the other unhappy woman who is pouting and who is, in a bad place, and who's throwing a fit and who's showing the ugly side. The rose that smells like boo-boo, the carnation that smells like excrement goes over to the rose that smells like boo-boo, and she decides to start bad talking Carlos. You start to bad talk that guy that you are mostly interested in. What sense does that make? So she goes over and she says, well, I've done some digging and I've Googled him. First of all, why do y'all have y'all's phones? They shouldn't even let them have their phones. But they have their phones. She's Googled Carlos, and she's decided that he is not a king. He doesn't have kingly behavior because he's had some adultery and he's cheated on his last wife. Well, first of all, why you didn't Google that before you came here? And if you didn't know who the kings were, you got to know that anybody coming on a television show probably has had a past, right? Because they're here, they have a past. And how many of y'all know men whose past doesn't involve cheating? Anytime a man tells me he never cheated in his past, I don't really hardly believe it. Like that's just normal that would be in someone's past. Hell, it's probably in most women's past too. It's just something that ends in people's past in relationships. When people are not happy in relationships, 9 times out of 10, they don't handle it perfectly every time. And so she goes and she starts bringing up the fact that he cheated, which is totally irrelevant, because if he cheated, then why do you still want to be with him? Why wouldn't you just remove yourself from the situation? But she plants that seed with Raquel. Raquel, she pays attention to it, feeds a little bit. And of course she wants Janae to hear it, because Janae is the one that Carlos wants. So she can't wait to say that within the distance for Janae to hear it, right? Because she wants to throw some, just a little bit of a kink in their loving plans, right? They're doing great. Janae is loving it. They're both on the same page. Carlos is being very intentional, and she can't stand it because it's not her. She feels rejected, and she's just acting ugly. So of course she says this around Janae. Janae does not respond to her. She does the adult, mature woman thing, and she takes it to Carlos. Not to Tyson. That would have been bad. Takes it straight to Carlos, right? She takes it to Carlos, and she mentions that she has been cheated on in a past relationship, and that did cause her some concern. And so she asks him, where he stands, to which he says, I did make some mistakes in my past. I'm not that man anymore. I learned from my mistake. He actually went even deeper in and explained that when he was in the NBA, when he first got signed, he was really, really young. He got married at 20, which is very, very young. I know because I did too. And so he wasn't prepared for it. He made mistakes. He owns up to it. He takes accountability and ownership. And then he tells her that he's not like that, and that he, appreciates her coming to him with the information. And she's also very clear about where she heard it from. And so they clear it up, and they're able to move on. Perfect example of adults handling adult things, adults handling adult conversations and moving on. And so Lexi was not able to throw a kink in their plans. It actually probably made them closer because they had a conversation that allowed them to take another layer down, right? So they move on. We get to elimination dinner, and of course, Lexi is in the bottom again, and as she knew she would be. First of all, went to Titus and tried to be messy, right? And so the guys are going to talk about that, and then you put out this negativity about the man that you supposedly were into. The worst, like the cancer of it all, is ridiculous. And so she asked Carlos, can she talk to him? Before elimination dinner, she asked Carlos, can she talk to him? Because when she realizes that Titus is not going to go for it, and he tells her that she should go talk to Carlos, then she realizes her plans have been thwarted, and she goes to talk to Carlos. She goes to talk to him, and she tries to basically confront him about the fact that he likes Janae better than her. How do you do that? Like, I was wondering, like, what is she going to say? Like, I want you to like me as much as you like her. And so she basically says, it's not fair that you are spending all your time with her. And Carlos, again, mans up. Let's go ahead and give this king some good energy. He mans up and he tells her point blank, when I came into this house, out of the first 7 women, Janae and I had the strongest connection. And that's just what it is. And she said, well, I don't think that's fair to me because you're not really getting to know me. And he said, okay, well, tell me about yourself. Now, this is when things go embarrassingly wrong. She says, it's like a rose that blossoms, and I don't really like to brag. So that kind of lets you know that everything that Lexi feels like makes her a great catch, and everything that she wants Carlos to know about her has to do with her bragging about things that she's accomplished. Ironically, if you guys remember, the only thing that Carlos said he really liked about her was that she was a mother, that she was a strong mother. I also want to point out, just a note to women that are on this channel, because we always talk about, men not appreciating women for who they are. These men really do appreciate great qualities in women. Of course, they're very focused on the external, as all men are going to be, but they're also very mindful and have a lot of admiration for substance. And that is a beautiful thing to see on a reality show. Again, kudos to the casting for King's Court, because except for Tyson. No, actually, I'm going to get to Tyson in a minute. But no, seriously, with Titus and Carlos, you see grown men action. Like, you see men who really are mature, and you see men that have access to any and everything, but really have admiration for beauty along with substance, along with identity, and even independence. Like, that is a beautiful thing. And I absolutely love it. I don't think that I have seen that on a show. I think like shows like The Bachelor, those guys are so young, right? So young. These men are in their 40s. And they've honestly learned some lessons. They actually have some chutzpah to them, like more to them than just being a rich player. You know what I mean? Like, they probably were players in their early days, but they've learned and they're governing themselves accordingly. And I think it's great for women to see. He loved the fact that she was a mother, and she seemed to be very dedicated to her children. All the things that Lexi thinks makes her a great catch, he ain't even thinking about them. In fact, those were the things that made him think that maybe she wasn't there for the right reasons. Her talking about her being an artist before and her being on Tubi and all that. Nobody cares about that girl. Not when it comes to a relationship, not when it comes to a man that doesn't need that. So she basically tells him that she doesn't like to brag, and people usually see it, in her. And then he was like, okay. So basically, you had nothing to tell you about yourself. You had nothing to tell me about you. All you wanted to do was be upset that I actually am attracted to this other woman. And the fact that he told her, up front, just what can you do? So at that point, Lexi gets angry. And then she wants to bad talk him. She goes into a confessional with Raquel. And it is one of the most immature examples. I mean, it reminds me of other reality shows, but it just doesn't fit this show, which is why it made sense that both Lexi and Brookell got their things and exited the building together. The carnation, the excrement-filled carnation, and the rose that smelled like boo-boo, they left together. And I will say this, I think Raquel has some growing to do. I think that she's probably been very, very spoiled because she is a very beautiful girl. But I don't think hers was like malicious. She was just pissed because Tyson didn't want her. Lexi was malicious. Like, she tried to dog him out. Like, if you don't like me, I'm going to talk bad about you. That's the type of woman that is the type of woman that you would never want to be in a relationship with, have children with, because she's spiteful, she's vindictive, she's going to try to hurt you if she does not get her way. And when you hear men talk about women that use their children against them, men that, you know, a woman tries to take everything he owns because she does, not because he's hurt her. Carlos has done nothing to her, nothing. All he has done is said the truth, which is that he really has strong connection with Janae, but he also was not telling her to leave. He was just saying, this is the truth. Now, if he had played her and made her feel like he had a connection with her and lied, then she'd have a problem. But the truth she could not handle. And instead of just taking it like a woman, like a mature woman, she acted out in a very ugly way. And I think at that point, as beautiful as she thinks she is, she looks very, very unattractive, very unattractive. I was really disgusted. I'm very glad that she's gone. Her trying to turn to other women and talk negatively about him, about something that you didn't even ask him about, and really is something that is not even something that you should be using against someone. And in a situation like this, it's one thing if you say, well, he's had cheating in his past, so that's not for me. But who are you going to date that's on TV that doesn't have cheating in their past, ma'am? It was all just because you were pissed that you weren't chosen. And because you weren't chosen, you wanted to burn the house down. Disgusting, and good riddance, and off you go. So we're going to just bid adieu to both Lexi and Raquel. That is the end of their journey. I wish both of them the best. I hope they will mature. You know, I think Raquel can mature. I think Lexi needs to learn some hard lessons and take accountability for the fact that she has a nasty attitude, and she needs to grow from that. Moving on to something more positive. Again, I gotta say, both Carlos and Titus have shown us how real men handle situations. Yet we had another example from Titus, just again, making me like him even more. Dr. Shawana, and she is, like I said, she's my favorite on the show so far, just because of how she carries herself and how she handled, like, when a person handles challenges with maturity and grace and class, that's a classy person. And so we talked yesterday, I keep saying last week, we talked yesterday about the fact that Titus said several times that he saw that she seemed aggressive. We know that he likes women that take charge. He actually was teasing and said she bullied the other women in the one-on-one so that she got all the time. So he mentioned the word aggressive at least 3 or 4 times. That caused the viewers to respond on social media. People were really upset with that. And Dr. Shawana, she actually said something in the confessional. She was like, that was, it was difficult to hear because that's a very dangerous word because of how people stereotype Black women in a negative way. And so she actually confronted him because he said it again. That morning, she said they woke up and everybody was in the kitchen and she gave him a hug and that word came up again. And she pulled him to the side and she said, she started off, I hope when we're paying attention to the way she started the conversation. She started the conversation by saying, I don't think that you're trying to be malicious, but I have to let you know that this is not right. And she started off from a soft place, not from an accusatory place. And that made so much of a difference. She explained that Black women were stereotyped in the workplace, and that she, as constantly being angry and aggressive and having attitudes, and the fact that a Black man in that type of light would say that, she had to correct him, or she didn't say correct him. She said it was important for him to know that that was not okay. Titus took off his glasses. He looked her in the eye and he apologized. I was like, you better go, Titus. He apologized, and he said several things that were just key. But he said that he understood what she was saying, and he was wrong. And he said he appreciated the fact that she brought that to his attention. In his confessional, he said that this journey is really about not only him finding a possible queen, but him becoming a better man. And he appreciated the fact that she brought that to his attention, and he acknowledged that he needed to change the way he spoke. I don't think it could have went any better. Like, that example needs to be used in couples counseling of how to have conflict resolution in a positive way. He apologized, she accepted his apology, and they moved on. But the fact that he told her that he appreciated her saying that, he complimented her on the fact that she immediately brought it to his attention. She didn't go talk to other people about it. She didn't complain about it to the other women. She took it to him. She was straightforward. She wasn't accusatory, but she did let him know that it was dangerous and it hurt her feelings. He took accountability for what he did, apologized for hurting her feelings, apologized for making that oversight, recorrected, and then told her he appreciated the fact that she brought that to his attention, and then said that basically that is helping him to become a better man. Chef's kiss. Chef's kiss. I don't even know what to say. Chef's kiss to that. And then they went on about their business. He asked her on another date. The guys were given an opportunity to ask 3 people out. Of course, Titus asked Dr. Shawana, and they had a great time. And they picked up like nothing ever happened. Now, he did also ask Lexi, not Lexi, but Ariel, to come on the date with them. Now, Ariel is interesting because she also is a doctor of physical therapy, and she also works out. And he mentioned that she looked like she could like bench press him. He likes a strong woman. This man really does appreciate and value strong women, physically and mentally and emotionally, spiritually, intellectually. He does, and I love it. I'm not sure about Ariel. She did, what he connected with her about is the fact that, number one, she's strong, literally strong. He liked that. Him being a WWE wrestler, I'm sure he's around a lot of women that are very physically fit. And he mentioned he really liked that. She was doing a lot of showing off of the body. And actually, Raquel mentioned that she had on a mesh. She came to the house in a mesh outfit showing off her behind. But, he didn't worry about that. And, he wasn't worried about it. He liked the way it looked. So that's all that mattered. They went out and she talked to him about her son. Now, if you notice, he asked her, was the son's father involved? And she said no. And she kind of breezed over that and said that she just decided to raise her son by herself. I'm sure he's going to have more questions about that later, even if not on camera, just because does that mean that the dad doesn't want to be involved? Does that mean you don't want him to be involved? But, she kind of breezed over that. For me, I think that I understand why he connected with the two of them. He did also take out Brianna, but I kind of think that he just did that to be nice because he's really clued in to Dr. Shawana. And also he mentioned just being very physically attracted to Ariel. I think she got the final shot, and she, and she's tall, so he probably just was like, okay, I'll just go out with her as well. Um, but I think he does. He is attracted to Ariel, but I personally, she, the way she introduced herself to Tyson at the basketball game, I think she's there just, for a good time. I don't know if she's as locked in on him as maybe Dr. Shawana is. I think she's kind of just there for a good time. I don't really get her as being wanting something serious with him. I think she just wants something serious with a wealthy man. It's just my opinion on episode 2. And we see I have been wrong. I was wrong the first time. 100% about Raquel. Not so much about Lexi. I kind of saw that. But Raquel, I had no idea that she was going to act like a 2-year-old spoiled brat like that. But Ariel, I kind of don't trust her just because there's something about her I just don't trust. I think she's there for the games. And I think when you look at it, the men are choosing women that kind of reflect them. All the conversation with Jana and Carlos has been really, really mature. They really have a real connection. I see them leaving together. And I don't want to be wrong again. I'll be wrong. It's okay. That's the fun part about doing this. But I don't see Ariel as having that type of real strong, mature connection. I think her being a doctor of physical therapy attracted him. And then I also think he has a really big heart. And so I think he, hearing about her struggle to find resources for her son with autism, and he has a school, and he also said he has a school, or he has a program that focuses specifically on children that have special needs, which is just, where did this guy come from? Dr. Shawana, we want you to get in there and get your man. I don't know. Ariel, I just don't think that, I don't trust her like that with that. Moving on to Tyson. Liliana is trying to jump ship. Liliana wants to be every place else. Raquel leaving has left the door wide open for these two, Steph, who's really about it. She about it. And also the very beautiful Felicia, who's looking for a celebrity man. And I think he'll probably, who knows with Tyson. He also had some connection with Sada on their date, because that's what he went out with. He went out with all 3 new people. But I understand he didn't like Raquel's energy, and I get why he did that. But he went out with these 3, and he had one-on-one time with Sada. I don't know what Tyson's going to do. But again, I don't think Tyson is serious about this show. I did see another side of him. He was on the Breakfast Club. A lot of people were mentioning that yesterday. I did see that interview. And I told you guys I was going to be totally objective, even though I had one bad experience with Tyson years ago. And that experience was not as someone that knew him. That experience was in a professional setting. I was a publicist. The organization I worked for hired him to do an event. He came to the event, and he was less than gracious to myself and my partner and some of the ladies that were there. However, that was one incident. And I tried to judge people, in a continuum from one incident. And it was a long time ago. So I actually enjoyed his interview on the Breakfast Club. One thing I like when a pretty boy does not act like a pretty boy. And I love the fact that he who is the ultimate pretty boy, is like, don't get it twisted. I'm still a man. I still whoop. He's Jamaican. He is not playing no games. I like that. I thought that, it just shows that he's very superficial into his looks, but he also has just also has a little bit of grounding. I don't think we're seeing much of that here. He seemed a lot more relatable there. He was on the Breakfast Club, and he also did Watch What Happens Live with Andy Cohen. And, he definitely seems more mature than he did several years ago. I will say that. But I don't necessarily see him leaving with a long-term relationship from the show. I think this is a great opportunity to put him back in the public's eye, and for there to be more women, running after him, which there will probably be forever, because he does not look 54. At all. He looks the same. Him and Naomi Campbell look the same. They do not age. And he mentioned, it's ironic because I mentioned yesterday that I thought he and Naomi Campbell would be a good couple together. He said that one of the reasons, and I think this is definitely his acting. And someone said yesterday, I think it was Edna, that said that he's a good actor, based on his tears and all that. No, we've seen him in several shows. He's not a great actor. He played in Twa and a couple other things. At least he wasn't a good actor when he was in some TV shows. Or some movies and stuff. He was not a great actor. Y'all remember him in Toni Braxton's Unbreak My Heart video? I'll bring that next week. Just a little snippet. I won't play it because I don't want to get taken off, but I'll bring a little snippet. That was the best because we didn't hear any words from him. We just saw him on a motorcycle. And he rides motorcycles. So I don't expect him to be serious, but I do think he's the eye candy that the audience probably wanted. But I really do feel like, ladies, we're getting some good, solid substance from men, and hearing men's perspective from both Carlos and Titus. And I think it's great. And I really, really give kudos to both of them for being great examples. And I don't think we've seen this type of example in a reality show of a Black man. I think even when you look at like the Love is Blind, the shows like that, we haven't seen maturity. These men are mature. This is maturity speaking. The way they're handling themselves, the way they're carrying the conversation with the ladies, the way they're deciding who they find connection with is maturity. And I think that I'm very surprised. I'm pleasantly surprised. So again, I'm going to give tonight's episode a 9.5 because I feel like with letting those two women go, I don't know who else got eliminated because the two of them leaving caused such a big fuss that we didn't see if there was an elimination. That was just, they left before we even got to the dinner. They left during the elimination mingling part. And so we don't know what happened or who else was in that fray. Could be Liliana. I don't know. But with the two of them leaving together, it was, that was the end of the show. But I think hearing the men's response to their actions, even Titus going ahead and acknowledging that what Lexi was doing, he was very turned off by and thought it was just very negative and toxic. It was just, like I said, I don't think you could have gotten a better episode addressing the whole idea of Black women and the aggressive stereotype connotation was beautiful and great for the culture, because I think that's a great conversation for the culture to have. The way they handled it was beautiful. Actually, men, valuing women for more than just their beauty and for more than just wanting to be taken care of. Amazing. Just great. And then you got all the eye candy of beautiful men and beautiful women in between that, but we also got some good substance. And so I hope that we have another I'm ready for another season of King's Court. We haven't even gotten into the third episode of this, but I'm like, can we do 2 kings and not go back to the queens yet? Because this is good stuff. And if you guys can cast men that actually, have something to say and can actually, show something positive for Black men, that's a huge coup, for everybody. I think people enjoy that. And I think they also have, for the most part, cast some great women. Even though these women are beautiful, they all are actual, have stuff going on for them. More than delicious. That's for damn sure. All these women, no disrespect. Yeah, I shouldn't have said that, but I'm just saying, like, delicious. What was that? What was that? What was that? But today, I enjoyed it. I hope you guys enjoyed this review. Please let me know what you rate the show. Let me know what you think of the carnation that's filled with excrement and the rose that smelled like boo-boo. Let me know what you think of those situations. If you agree with me or not, I welcome all comments in the comment section. We can always agree to disagree. I look forward to next week, and they bring in some more women to the table. Jesus help us. And we'll see what happens. But I predict that Carlos and Jana are going to go the distance, because anytime a man is feeling that much of a connection, he is going to try to figure it out. And she does seem like a very worthy, object of his affection. I see Dr. Shawana and Titus at least getting to the end. I don't know if he'll be swayed by somebody else. And we don't know who else is coming. If there's another doctorate or PhD or who knows, poet laureate. I mean, Titus is looking for those women that got something to back it up, you know, and I love it. I love it. I love it. So thank you guys for hanging out with me. This has been Crystal XO talking about the second episode of King's Court, Full Court Press. Join me next Monday at 10 p.m. for the review for episode 3. In between that, you guys know on Wednesday, Dating Diaries with me and Scorpio Mo. Also, we're going to get into the foolishness that is Love and Marriage Huntsville. And Ready to Love is back. So there's so much here between OWN, Peacock, NBC, all this good stuff. All the reviews, all the commentary that you need is right here on From Crystal XO. I am From Crystal XO. I thank you guys for watching. I look forward to reading your comments, and I will see you guys next week with King's Court, but I'll see you tomorrow for the Dating Diaries with Scorpio Mo. All right, you guys have a good night.